And we are Paranormal Chicks.
Episode 53. And it is, you know what? This is the first week of spring.
Girl, I know, because you having a pollen attack.
I am. The pollen has reared its ugly head.
Ugh.
Never in my life has it bothered me this much.
Because you're old, girl. You're old.
Well, that's for the fucking birds, because I don't like this shit.
I mean, it is.
For the flowers.
Yeah. Birds, bees.
Birds and the bees.
Mm-hmm. You also don't have that.
Jesus, this girl. She been calling me out something fierce this week.
Well, y'all, I got someone else to call out. And that is Krista S. from Wisconsin.
You know what else?
What?
I have somebody to call out, too.
All right.
Melissa R., also from Wisconsin.
Oh, y'all neighbors?
They may. Maybe they know each other. Do y'all know each other?
Do y'all have potluck? Do you make sausage balls? Because your girl loves balls, but also sausage. Damn. Like, for real. All around, I love that.
Damn. Also, do y'all know what a covered dish is?
Yeah.
Because we were talking about that one time at work. We were like, we're going to have a potluck, blah, blah, blah. Just bring a covered dish. And my friend Kim, she's from Louisiana, and she was like, what the hell's a covered dish? Like, why does it matter if my dish is covered? Mm-hmm. And we were like, not they were, we were. It's like a casserole. It's like a hot dish. Like, you know, it's not about the covered. It's like a casserole or something.
Yeah, not a dip.
Yeah. And she was like, why didn't you just say that?
Because y'all trying to be fancy.
No, we're just being Southern.
She. Well, Krista, Melissa, y'all can bring a covered dish. Mm-hmm. And honestly, you can bring dip. You can bring chips. You can bring, well, I got the plates and forks and the 2 liters. That's always my specialty because you are in the Creepinati. Mm-hmm. Thank you for your patronage.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your generosity and also for the sausage balls.
Oh, okay. So they have to bring those. Okay.
Yes. Oh, or Rotel dip.
The last potluck we had at work, I made spinach dip from one of those like Knorr packets, you know. I forgot to put the spinach in it.
That's okay though.
It was still good. It was like it became like a vegetable dip instead of like spinach dip. Like you can't. There's not a lot of things you can do wrong when you put it on a Hawaiian roll.
Right? You don't even have to butter a Hawaiian roll. All right, now that we've covered the fucking food, which you know is more important than anything, let's get to our stories.
Well, this week I had a story. It was like 80% done, and I was like, I'm just not fucking feeling it. Mm-hmm. Don't you hate that? When you're just like, I did all this work, but I just don't want to.
Yeah.
And so I was like, it's time.
Oh, shit.
It's time that I just do it.
Oh, God. Who? What? Jeffrey Dahmer?
No. Ariel Castro.
Oh, fuck. Let's get ready for me to say a lot of fuck words. And
a lot of fuck words.
Yep.
Not cuss, just variations of the word fuck. Okay.
Yes.
Fuckery,
fuckwad,
fuckhead. Oh my God! Oh my God, that was great.
If you could have seen our face.
Our eyes got huge.
Yeah. And like, I kept sitting up straighter because it was like, it's when you're like throwing the ball and you're like, let's not touch the ground and you're.
Yes. And you're like, we're doing it. We're doing it.
I mean, do y'all do that in the pool? Because that's what we do.
What do you mean you lay out and look sexy on a raft? We play with volleyballs. Beach balls, I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not sports.
Yeah,
people.
we're not like...
It's the blow-up ones.
Yeah.
The dollar store.
It's got to give you some time to move your lard ass over and hit it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say we all know, but maybe we don't all know, but I feel like...
If you don't, consider yourself lucky.
True. And, you know, I forget we have so many listeners from other countries. Mm-hmm. So, Ariel Castro was...
Fuckwad.
Okay, Donna also is just going to jump in with the...
Yeah, this is going to be like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and we're going to have like a little soundtrack. Audience sing-along.
Audience participation. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ariel Castro kidnapped 3 girls, Michelle Knight, Amanda Berry, and Georgina, who also went by Gina De Jesus. And he held them all 3 captive in his house for an ungodly amount of time. So this is kind of what I was thinking we'd do.
Okay.
I don't really give a fuck about Ariel Castro. like his past or anything like that. I just listened to an audiobook called The Lost Girls. I talked about it in a live. That may have been in the Creepinati. I can't remember, but I told you I was listening to it. But it's a good book by John Glatt, Glatt. Anyway, so I'm probably saying that wrong. But it was a really good book if you want to get more details of his past and how he grew up. Basically, though, he's from Puerto Rico, came to the mainland, ended up settling in Cleveland, Ohio, and he had a really shitty childhood, basically.
Okay.
He did have a girlfriend, Gramilda Figueroa was her name, and they had a very tumultuous relationship. And that book, I felt like did a really good job of going into the detail of their just long history of abuse and torture that he put her through too.
Really?
Yeah, he would, from what I understand too, he was pretty good to her at the beginning, and it wasn't until they moved in to their house that he basically all hell broke loose, is what her sisters quoted saying. And they had 4 kids together. I don't think he really ever abused the kids, but he did her. Things like threw her down the stairs and cracked her skull.
Shit.
Just beating after beating after beating. Lots of head injuries to her, too. And eventually, in 1993, he was arrested for domestic violence, but he wasn't indicted by the grand jury because, I think that's when she dropped the charges. So she just finally got enough and I hate to say courage because she's clearly courageous, but the ability to leave. So she got custody of the kids. She moved out. She moved in with a boyfriend. And there was, again, just a ton of things that happened as part of that custody battle. And I think he got his kids to say that her boyfriend was abusing them. And there was a ton to that relationship. Well, she ended up passing in 2012 because she had a brain tumor that they attributed to all the head injuries that he gave her.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, like I said, the cracked, he threw her down the stairs, broke her arm multiple times. I'm not even going to go into it, but he would chain her up in the basement.
Hush.
He was horrible to her.
Yeah.
And it was almost though that's what kept him from needing to kidnap and all that, was because he was doing it to his wife. Mm-hmm. Well, once she left, it was kind of well, now what?
Yeah.
So Ariel Castro was, what made people so holy shit, he kidnapped these girls, was because when you saw him, he was just kind of, looked like an ordinary guy.
Yeah, total ordinary.
He worked as a bus driver. He played bass in a band. He just was ordinary guy. He had some stuff that was that he just had just some things as a bus driver that got him in trouble multiple times. One time he left a kid on the bus and went in to eat lunch.
What?
Yeah, kept the kid on the bus, drove the bus, went and ate lunch, and then came back and took the kid to school or took the kid home, or I can't remember exactly how it worked out, but just stuff like that. It was just have you lost your, what are you doing?
Right.
So, okay, let's go into the girls that he kidnapped.
Okay.
Michelle Knight was the first. And I feel like I have to preface this story with, I get a little defensive, and by a little, I mean a lot, on behalf of Michelle Knight.
Yes.
Because she just was done dirty, I feel like, by the media.
Everyone.
From the moment she was kidnapped until today, even.
Yeah.
I just feel like she's just been done dirty.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like if she was the only victim, we wouldn't really know about her.
Yeah, I agree.
Because she's not who the media covers.
Right, you're right.
And it's so terrible. And that I'm the same way. Bless her heart.
Michelle Knight, she was born April 23rd, 1981, so she has a birthday coming up. Happy birthday, Michelle. She actually doesn't go by Michelle anymore. She goes by Lily Ann, I believe. So she was 21 years old when she first disappeared, and she first disappeared August 23rd, 2002. Michelle had a hard life. Mm-hmm. She had a really poor and toxic relationship with her mother. She had a son that she had lost custody of, I believe because of a drug problem. He had gone into foster care, and she was working towards getting him back. Got clean, was, working on getting a job. She was going to all the meetings and parenting and all the things that she had to do to get him back out of foster care. Well, on the day she went missing, she was leaving her cousin's house on her way to go for visitation with her son.
I know, gosh.
And she stopped at, I almost said at the Piggly Wiggly. I have no idea where she stopped. In the Lifetime movie, it was like a Walgreens. It wasn't, but it was like a pharmacy.
Yeah.
To ask for directions because she wasn't sure where she was going. She didn't have a car or anything like that. Like, she was walking and taking public transit. And so she's stopped in the store, wherever, asking like, okay, how do I get to this? Blah, blah, blah. Well, Ariel Castro comes up and is like, oh, hey, that's where I'm going that way. I'll take you. And she's like, oh my God, thank you, because she was running late. Mm-hmm. And she didn't want to be, because when you're trying to get your child out of foster care like that, every single thing you do matters. Yeah. And so if she was late, it reflects poorly on her that, okay, well, you don't care about getting your son back because you're late. Meanwhile, she just was fucking lost, you know?
Everything was always against her.
Mm-hmm. Once they were in the car, Ariel Castro told her that he had puppies at his house, that he would take her there so she could get a puppy and go and then be able to take one to her son.
Yeah.
And she's 21 and is like, okay.
Well, trying to put her best foot forward and, to win back her son.
Mm-hmm. Well, practically as soon as they got to the house, he dragged her down the stairs to the basement and used orange extension cord to tie her hands and feet, like, around her neck, too, and, like, hung her up from a pipe like a fish. And, like, just, like, a little bit of ways from the ground, like, hung her up there.
Oh, my gosh.
For a very long time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure it was days.
Oh, my God.
It was at least a full day.
Yeah. Can you imagine? She was so flustered and so determined to get to see her son, and then, like, what the fuck? Like, she is immobile right now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God.
And, again, for hours and hours and hours. And, like, and he told her, he was like, this is where you're going to stay until I can trust you. Okay, well, first of all, how's she going to build up trust? Because you literally have her tied up, like hog-tied, basically.
Yes.
Well, she was up there for so long that you had to use the bathroom on herself.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, all this stuff, but he didn't care.
Right.
He would come downstairs and he would put a motorcycle helmet on her and then beat her in the head, her whole body, just like beat the shit out of her, rape her over and over and over again. Mm. And this went on for days and days and days. So he kept her in the basement. I mean, he eventually like let her down from that and kept her just chained in the basement and made her wear that helmet for the first 3 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And this basement, in the summer, it was hot. In the winter, it was freezing. And she was abducted August 23rd. And so, it's the end of the summer, kind of starting to go into the winter. And he would rape her, hit her, whip her, choke her, all of this stuff. She finally got a bucket that she could use the bathroom in. And then he wouldn't let her shower He wouldn't give her clothes. So she's in the clothes that she's urinated in.
Just treated her so inhumane.
I cannot even fathom. Like, I mean, I know that, like, him raping her and all wasn't because he was like, oh my God, she's so sexy, I want to have sex with her. You know,
right.
It wasn't that. But I just don't understand how, she had to stink, God love her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was in urine-soaked clothes.
Yeah.
And you don't let her shower.
Right.
And at what point are you like, oh God, she's dirty. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of you, not, I
right.
mean, and please know that I'm not meaning that ugly on Michelle by any means. Anybody would be dirty.
Oh God.
I mean, that would be anybody in that situation.
Real,
so please know that I'm not saying anything ugly about Michelle. I'm saying about this situation, like, I just don't understand how he could.
Yeah. Like, how would you
want that?
Yeah.
Ariel had her for a whole year. Just her. He finally would let her go upstairs because his house was 2-story. Well, I guess you could say 3 because he had a basement, but the second story was bedrooms and stuff. The main floor was ground level. She had a mattress, a bucket to use the bathroom in. She was chained to the mattress. She had no clothes on. Eventually, he took all of her clothes. No clothes and no blanket. And she wasn't allowed to shower. She was not allowed to shower for a whole year. I truly cannot wrap my brain around that.
No.
A whole year.
And I know she's uncomfortable with everything, but can you imagine, like, your skin would just hurt.
So
itch.
She had, well, and it did. She had bed sores.
Ugh.
And it's a miracle. I mean, truly, it's a miracle that she lived.
Yes.
Because not only did he put her through, like, I cannot even imagine
the depths of hell.
But the beatings that she survived alone, that's a whole nother, like, the fact that she survived the physical abuse, period, alone is amazing. But the fact that she survived the elements of there was no air and there was no heat. So again, we're talking Cleveland in the summer and Cleveland in the winter. Freezing, and so she was naked with no blanket in the dead of winter. On top of that, there were times when she would not be allowed to use the bucket and stuff. So the bed was soiled. And so the other thing too is that, so you have someone who's forced to stay in bed because they're chained to it. And then you create all these other issues like the bed being soiled and wet and all that, or she's sweating or she's freezing or she's, and so the fact that she didn't get a fucking staph infection in her damn bed sores.
Oh my gosh.
And get septic and die is like, she had greater things to do in this life.
Yes.
Because, I mean, just that, I just cannot even.
Yeah.
Michelle ended up getting pregnant because he raped her at minimum once a day. But sometimes it was 5 and 6 times a day.
Fuck.
So, of course, she got pregnant. She's 21 years old, And he, of course, was not happy about it. And so he beat her until she had a miscarriage.
Oh, my God.
And then when she miscarried, he said, "You killed my baby," and beat her some more.
Fuck him. Oh, my God. That fucking maggot. Ooh.
Fuck face.
Yes. Oh, my God. Like, speechless.
I know. Aside from the physical and sexual abuse that happened to Michelle Knight, he also mind-fucked her.
Yeah.
He would tell her that nobody was missing her, nobody loved her, nobody even cared that she was gone, all these things. And it was almost like it was the perfect storm for her when Amanda Berry when he kidnapped Amanda Berry. Because after he kidnapped her, Amanda Berry's family did all of these things looking for her. You know, they had all these flyers and searches and all this news coverage, and he would force Michelle to watch the news coverage of Amanda Berry's abduction and be like, look, nobody's doing that for you. Nobody cares that you're gone. Amanda Berry was born April 22nd, 1986. It's interesting their birthdays are a day apart.
Wow, yeah.
But she disappeared April 21st, 2003, and it was the day before her 17th birthday. She was working at Burger King and was walking home, you know, from her job. She was super excited because she had a little bit of money that she had put away in her drawer because she was going to, I think it was like $100. She was going to go shopping for something to do with her birthday. I can't remember what it was, but she...
Probably something at Claire's, because that was me.
She had her birthday party like the next day. She just had all these things coming up that her family was like, okay, she would, even if she was to run away, she would not have done it before she had a birthday party.
Yeah.
She would not have done it and left the $100 in her dresser drawer. You know, all these different things. So that they could tell the police, like, look, clearly,
yeah,
there's some foul play here. She did not run away and not take her money. Well, the last that anybody had heard from her, though, was she called her sister to say, like, hey, I'm off work. I'm going to try to find a ride home. A week after she went missing, Ariel Castro used her cell phone to call her mother and said, I have Amanda. She's fine and will be coming home in a couple of days, which, of course, we know she didn't.
Oh, my God. What a fuckwad.
Well, so she's going to walk home. You know, she's walking home from her job at Burger King, and Ariel Castro sees her and knows that is one of his daughter's friends. He's like, hey, you need a ride. And she's like, she recognizes him as being one of her friend's dad. And so she's like, oh, well, this is cool. This is going to be safe. You know, he's my friend's dad. So she's like, yeah, absolutely. Can I please have a ride home? And he was like, okay, I'll take you home. But first I got to stop at my house for, I really think it was something stupid like to move a TV. I think that hers, it was her or Gina DeJesus. One of them, I think, was like to move a TV. And no, it wasn't. She wasn't the TV. She was stuck at my house. And look, come upstairs. You can see my daughter because they're friends,
yes,
you know. And he was like, hey, come on upstairs. She noticed that most of the windows were covered. You know, there's like a stereo blocking the path upstairs. You know, it's. She notices something's off, but she just, you know, she follows him up there because she's going to see his daughter. And she passes the room where Michelle Knight is, and the door's closed, but there's a hole in it, like, kind of like if you took the doorknob out and the hole's still there. Mm-hmm. And she, like, looks in it, and she sees her in there, and she's like, that's weird. And he's like, that's my roommate. She's weird. And,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So he ends up attacking her, obviously, and rapes her, does the same thing, takes her down to the basement, chains her up, doesn't basically string her up like he did Michelle, but tons of abuse, physical and sexual abuse. Same thing, helmet on the head, same kind of MO. Well, he takes her back upstairs at some point. I'm skipping some things in the timeline because this is like a huge story because these girls kept journals. Sometimes they had journals that they would just draw in to just artistic express themselves. Some they wrote in like a journal, like I can't remember if it was Amanda's or Gina's, that they were like, it's day 6 and I've already been raped 25 times or something like that, you know. So they kept a timeline. So there's a lot of information about what actually happened to them. I'm not going to go into everything because, one, I never could in the amount of time we have for this podcast.
And
but
it's so bad.
It's so bad. Just know it's so bad. A lot of people looked for Amanda Berry. She was on a segment of America's Most Wanted in 2004. It re-aired in 2005 and 2006. She and Gina DeJesus, who was abducted after her, we'll talk about her in a minute, they were both profiled on Oprah, Montel Williams, Sylvia Brown, the psychic that Montel always had on there, who we later found out was fake. She told Amanda Berry's mom, Luana Miller was her mom's name, that Amanda Berry was dead and in water. And so the mom was just like crushed by this information and totally believed her, started taking pictures down off of like websites and all this stuff.
Fuck her too.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvia Brown, not the mom.
Yeah.
Ugh. Just, God. Like, that is criminal.
I know. So, Georgina Lynn DeJesus, who goes by Gina, she was born February 13th, 1990. She was last seen about 3 o'clock on April 2nd, 2004. So, she was 14. She was actually really good friends with one of Ariel Castro's daughters.
Fuckwad.
Him, not his daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so this is basically a rundown of what happened. Gina DeJesus and his daughter, I can't remember her name, are walking home from school. And he's driving past and he sees them. So he does a little Yui and is like, oh, he's seen this girl a couple of times. She's real cute, he thinks. And he's like, oh, she's with my daughter. Let's just see what happens. Well,
like the balls.
Uh-huh. So they go to call each other's parents to be like, hey, can Gina come over tonight? And of course, I can't remember which parent it was, said, I think it doesn't matter. One of the parents said, not today. She can come over another time. And so Gina was like, okay. And was like, I'll just go home instead of going over to Ariel's daughter's house. So she, his daughter leaves to walk home and Gina DeJesus goes the other way to walk home. Well, Purvey McPurvison decides now's the time. So he rolls up beside her and is like, hey, I'm blah, blah, blah's dad. Like, you need to ride home. All this stuff. Well, so she gets in his van or car or truck or whatever the fuck and goes home with him. So she never comes home. And of course, her family's like, what the fuck? Where is she? They said that because nobody witnessed her abduction, an Amber Alert could not be issued. Mm-mm. And so her father was like livid. In 2006, he was trying to get it changed to say that an Amber Alert should work for any missing child. Whether it's an abduction, a runaway, whatever, the child needs to be found. Yeah. We need to change the law. There was like some sketches made of who they thought had taken her, and it was nothing they said that it was a white male, like 25 to 35 years of age, 5'10", 165 to 185 pounds.
Nope.
Yeah, well, he was like 53, and he was 5'7". They did have the fact that he had a goatee correct, and they did have his weight correct. But other than that, all the other shit was wrong. So here's the thing. This is one of the things that was so fucked up, is that because his daughter Arlene was friends with Gina, they were family friends. Like, It wasn't just like kids were friends. Like, this motherfucker went to her vigils. Like, chatted to her family. What can I do to help? Part of the search parties. Like, this son of a bitch.
So fucking twisted.
Which I know that we know now, too, that people who do things usually insert themselves in the investigation and the search and the blah, 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 blah. But you son of a bitch. Right. Gina's disappearance was linked to Amanda Berry's disappearance because they happened, like, basically a block apart. Yeah. It was in a not-so-nice neighborhood in Cleveland, so they were linked. But nobody even fucking knew anything about Michelle Knight. Like, They just assumed she's 21, like, that she just ran away. Like, they didn't even give two shits.
I know. So,
like, they did not even Like, they just said, okay, well, she didn't show up for her visitation with her kid. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah, they were like, knew that.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh.
Once he had all 3 of them, he would only give them, like, barely 1 meal a day. Usually McDonald's. I bet they never want to see McDonald's again.
McDonald's is, like, the cheapest thing to get. He can get 20 fucking McNuggets for $5.
And there was... Like, afterwards, there were people interviewed, like, that would say, he would eat his breakfast at McDonald's and then he would get, like, 3 more biscuits to go. And, everybody was like, what? Why does he do that? But never questioned it. Never was like, why are you getting all this extra food,
Yeah.
Never fucking questioned it. Well,
I mean, because why would you? Because then it would be like, are you shaming me?
Yeah,
like,
are you fat shaming me?
I mean...
So what? I want 4 sausage biscuits.
One needs jelly, one doesn't.
One needs cheese.
Exactly. God.
Eventually, they were all locked in rooms upstairs. Because it was a 4-bedroom house. But I think at some points, Gina and Michelle were locked in a room.
Yeah.
And then, but there were also some points where there was like a walkway. Like, not a walkway, but like a hole in between the rooms so that they could kind of crawl. Because they were chained, but they had...
slack.
Yeah, so they could go use their 5-gallon bucket. But he would keep them locked upstairs in their bedrooms, and then not only, like, did he have them up there, he would have people over.
Band practice.
Yes, he was in that little salsa band, and actually it was a pretty big salsa band in the area. Yeah, he would have them over for band practice, and he would have stuff, like, blocking so they couldn't go upstairs. But then, like, if they were just sitting around drinking, he would have the radio up really loud so that they couldn't hear anything. But if they did, he would just be like, oh, it's the house settling,
Yeah.
Because he had the fear of God in these women.
Yeah.
And part of how he would do that is he would set them up to be like, I'm always watching. So he would do something like leave something unlocked or leave something unchained or whatever as like a quote unquote test. And if they like tried to leave or whatever, he would be standing out there waiting on them and beat them. What a mind fuck. Like what a
manipulative fuck face motherfucker.
It's like, I mean, like, it's not this is going to sound way extreme, but like the only way it's like psychological warfare. Like it's not, well, I don't know the official definition, but it's not, but it is, you know?
Fucking entrapment. The only thing good about entrapment was that Catherine Zeta-Jones movie with it.
Never saw it. I never saw anything. I don't know why you're jumping in surprise.
Well, it's a classic.
So also their rooms, all the windows and stuff are covered. So it was dark most of the time in there. Because it wasn't just like a blanket. It was like a door covering the windows, you know?
Well, and he was filthy himself. Like, his house was...
hoarder status.
Yes. His truck, everything.
Which is probably why he didn't care that he didn't let Michelle Knight shower for a whole fucking year.
Ugh. And that's how, like, his friends and everything, his house was disgusting. So that you can't get up to a certain thing. It's like, well, I mean, he needs to do laundry. He needs to do whatever. Oh.
He did eventually let them shower, like, once, maybe twice a week.
I wonder if it hurt Michelle, like, when the water finally hit her for the first time.
No, I bet, you know, when you've been really sick, like flu sick, and you have not showered in like 4 days because you've had the fucking flu.
Yes.
Or more even. It may have been 5. I don't know. Depends on how bad your flu was. And it's like that first time you shower and you wash your hair and you use a wash rag and you just wipe all that off. It's just
that
like...
grime away.
I can only imagine that it's... for her, it was that times 52.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they've been 52 weeks.
Oh my gosh. It's Shawshank. Why do we always bring it back to Shawshank? But that's our, like, 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when he goes through all that shit.
And he's standing in the rain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Well, Michelle got pregnant at least five times.
Blessed.
While she was held captive.
Mm-hmm.
And every single time, he would beat her into a miscarriage. He would punch her in the stomach, throw her against walls, throw her against, down the stairs, whatever. He would hit her in the stomach with dumbbells.
Shit.
How did he not, rupture her spleen?
Right?
I don't know. I'm making that up. But, think about, a car accident and how sometimes car accidents are fatal because, internal bleeding and stuff. How is she alive? He would also starve her in order to kill the baby. At some point, I don't actually know how this happened, but Michelle had a little pet dog while she was in custody. I don't know how the dog came into the house. I can't remember. But one time when Ariel Castro was attacking Michelle, the dog went to bite him. To protect Michelle. Mm-hmm. And so he just picked the dog up and snapped its neck in front of Michelle and killed the dog.
Next level fuckery right there.
Amanda Berry was treated more like a wife than a captive, I guess you could say. She was still treated shitty. And I'm not
his
trying
wife, that was a captive.
Yes. So not trying to downplay everything that she went through, because she went through a shit ton herself. Yeah. But she had a little more freedom to move about the house, kind of play house with him, that kind of thing. Well, Amanda ended up getting pregnant as well. And Ariel Castro was thrilled by this.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a very different reaction than when Michelle Knight got pregnant. He was so excited.
Can you imagine Michelle?
No.
Again, it's just so much.
It's nobody wants her.
Yes, and that's so indirect. He's not doing that to her, but he is. It is just all encompassing. Mm-hmm. Just so hard for Michelle, and everything's against her.
And he made sure that he made that clear to her too. Yes. Again, because they had a TV, and he would force them to watch the vigils that were being held for them being missing and all of that. And so she would have to see it and see that all of this is happening to find Gina DeJesus and Amanda Berry, and nobody's looking for her. Nobody even knows that she's missing.
I know. That is... fuck. That is heartbreaking.
When it came time for Amanda to give birth, he got a small, inflatable swimming pool and put it in the basement. And when she was in labor, he made Michelle come deliver that baby. Michelle was like, I don't know nothing about birthing no babies.
Right.
Quiz what movie?
All I want to say is The Help, but that's not it.
Gone with the Wind.
Oh. Never watched it.
What? Mm-hmm. Good movie.
As God is my witness, I've never watched it.
Okay. I'm just kidding.
But I will bring over a hot plate.
Okay. So he made Michelle deliver Amanda's baby. And
didn't he threaten her?
Yes, because the baby came out and wasn't breathing.
Ugh.
And he was like, if you kill my baby, to Michelle, because, of course, it's her fault that the baby's not breathing. Doesn't have anything, in fact, to do that you have had the most stressful pregnancy on the planet, and you're delivering it in an inflatable swimming pool.
Right. With no...
medical, nothing.
Yeah.
None of that. But he said, basically, if this baby dies, I'll hold you responsible, and I will kill you. And so she had to figure out how to make that baby start breathing. And she just, I think, instinctually knew how to resuscitate her.
Yeah.
And the baby lived. And so...
and again, thanks to Michelle.
Mm-hmm. Once Jocelyn was born, things kind of changed in the house in that as she got the age where she was kind of able to know stuff that was going on... mm-hmm. He forced them to have dinner as a family and that kind of thing. And she called him daddy and knew that Amanda was mom, and he would take her out to like the park and to eat breakfast and introduced her to his mother, and she would call his mother grandmother and like all this stuff. And like, so some stuff she would say, like he would say that it was his girlfriend's kid. Mm-hmm. Some stuff he would say it was his grandkid. Some stuff he would say it was his, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever. But he had shown like pictures of Jocelyn to his adult kids, all these things. So I just need to put a little bit into perspective that while all this is going on, he has a girlfriend. Mm-hmm. Like a very normal girlfriend and a very normal, well, I'd say typical. I hate to say normal. We're going to say typical. A very typical girlfriend, a very typical relationship. It was like with his first girlfriend that he had all his kids with, he couldn't separate. Mm-hmm. So he abused her. But with this other girlfriend, because he had the three at home that he was able to abuse and rape and live out his sexual fantasies, he was able to have a more, quote, romantic, meaningful relationship with this girlfriend. Also, during this time, in April of 2007, his daughter, Emily Castro, was convicted in Indiana for trying to kill her 11-month-old daughter.
I did not know this.
Janila. It was her daughter's name. She slashed the little girl's throat 4 times.
What?
Mm-hmm. She was 11 months old.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope. And then, I'm a little blurry on the facts, because some stuff, it said I thought, one thing said that, like, she, like, ran outside with the little girl and was like, she's hurt. I'm not really sure, but when police came, she was home and she had cut herself on the neck and wrists. And so, like, because she had, like, she self-inflicted those wounds on, you know, on herself, obviously, because that's what self-inflicted means. But anyway, when the police found her, though, she was covered in blood, mud, and water, because she slit her own neck and wrists and then tried to drown herself in a nearby creek. So she got all this water and mud on her. Didn't work. So she was arrested and sentenced to 25 years. The little girl lived.
Thank God for that.
She made a full recovery. I said recovery, weird. A full one of those.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yes. So all this, and then like his oldest son was like killing it in life, got his bachelor's degree.
I thought you meant like killing something. I was like, sorry. What the hell?
Was living his best life.
Yeah.
He got a college degree in like journalism, was working for newspapers, did like a whole article on the missing girls and stuff. Like, wow. It just is insane. There were a couple of times that police came to his house, actually. Once it was after the kidnappings, but it was about a completely separate incident, and it didn't seem like he was home, so they left and just interviewed him somewhere else later when they found him. Then one time, some neighbors called because there was some, quote, suspicious activity, but the police say that there's no record of that call. So, I mean, it's kind of a he said, she said. It's all about the he said, she said bullshit.
I was so singing that.
On May 6th of 2013, though, Amanda Berry noticed that when Ariel Castro left the house, he didn't lock the, quote, big inside door. Because he had, like, multiple layers of locks and shit that they had to get through. So, the storm door, like, on the exterior storm door was locked, and she couldn't really get through, but that big door was locked. Or, I'm sorry, unlocked. So, at first, she was like, I'm not going to do anything because he's probably testing me. He's probably right outside the door, because he had conditioned these women so much that she was scared to do it.
Yeah.
But this time, Amanda Berry saw some women, like, across the street sitting on the porch. And so she was like, it's now or never. You know, her daughter's 6 years old at this time. Michelle Knight had been there for 11 years.
That is insane.
Mm-hmm. And so it was now or never.
Yeah.
So she starts banging and yelling on that exterior door through the screen and, knocks the bottom out of it. And I think she's got a little bit of a hand out, and just everybody was like, what is that? Not really understanding. Well, there was a neighbor, Angel Cordero, and he's the one that came at first, but he wasn't really able to speak English. And so, because it was primarily like a Puerto Rican neighborhood. And so he wasn't able to speak English, but a neighbor, Charles Ramsey, was able to come up there, talk to her. And she's like, I'm Amanda Berry. I've been locked in here. Help me get out. And so he tried to help her kick through a hole in the bottom of the storm door. And she crawled out carrying her daughter. Well, she ran across the house, ran across the street, called 911 and was like, help me. I've been kidnapped. I've been missing for 10 years. I'm Amanda Berry. Here I am. Come free me, So the police get there. They're walking. And because there had been so many, quote, sightings of Amanda Berry that they were like, okay, well, let's go check this one out. Let's just, we got to go see. Probably not. Whatever. But that book that I read talked about those first responders, and they're walking up and realizing, fuck, that's her. And they did a really good job talking about how they like the book does, about how they went through the house and how they found Gina DeJesus and Michelle, and how Michelle jumped up and hugged them and was just
yes.
Thank God you're here kind of thing. They were all taken to the hospital. Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus were released from the hospital the very next day. Michelle Knight stayed in the hospital for 4 days because she did have an infection. And later, she needed multiple reconstructive surgeries on her face because of all the beatings. And she is deaf in, I think, her left ear.
Blessed.
It was pretty much immediately, though, after they rescued the girls, that they found Castro. He was with 2 of his brothers in a car, and they arrested them all because they didn't know if he had any accomplices or anything like that. I mean, he's kept these girls locked up for 11 years. How could he not have an accomplice, you know? But then they kept his brothers for 3 days before they were like, okay, we're releasing them. They had no involvement. When Ariel Castro made his first court appearance, they set bail at $2 million per kidnapping charge. So his bail was set at $8 million.
Because he's a fuckwad.
Yes. A bunch of additional charges were pending, aggravated murder because of him causing the miscarriages, attempted murder, assault, charge for each instance of rape, and a kidnapping charge for each day each captive was held. So anyway, he ended up getting indicted on 329 counts of all the ones I just read. And here's the thing, though. The indictments could only cover the period from August 2002 to 2007 because statute of limitations and all that.
That is ridiculous.
Yep.
They were in his custody. Oh, my gosh.
He did enter a not guilty plea. But see, okay, so his attorney is quoted saying, it's our hope, basically said, some of the charges against him were indisputable. It's our hope that we can continue to work forward towards a resolution to avoid having an unnecessary trial about aggravated murder and the death penalty. Because they were seeking the death penalty for the murder charges for the unborn fetus. They did a lot for his competency. He was found competent, blah, blah, blah. He sucks. So then they did more charges based on different dates after that, and so it brought it up to 977 counts, 512 counts of kidnapping, 446 counts of rape, 7 of gross sexual imposition, 6 of felonious assault, 3 of child endangerment, 2 of aggravated murder, and 1 possession of criminal tools.
Wow.
He pleaded not guilty. So he ended up finally pleading guilty, though. And he got multiple consecutive sentences of life, plus 1,000 years, all without parole. He just kept saying, like, I have a sexual problem. It's blah, blah, blah. Like, he's a total piece of shit. So he was sentenced. He was fined $100,000. So he had to, like, forfeit his property to the court and all of that. He said that he was a really good person, but he blamed all this on the fact that he had a sex addiction and addiction to pornography, and that he practiced the art of masturbation from a young age.
Yeah, none of that makes you...
Absolutely not.
...be who you were.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you had a sex addiction, you could do that completely different than kidnapping, torturing, just beyond torturing people.
Yep. So... One thing that I really, really did love is that Amanda Berry's grandfather had a Chevy Monte Carlo car that, like, from the year she was born. So the car was as old as she was. And she loved the car. She always said she wanted it. And he always promised her that she could have it one day. And he always kept it, hoping to be able to give it to her one day. And he kept it. And when they got out, he was able to give that car to Amanda Berry. There was a Cleveland Courage Fund that was set up to help them transition into an independent life that ended up having more than $1 million in it for them. They have all told their stories in some ways through books. Amanda Berry and Gina DeJesus tend to stick together, and Michelle Knight is kind of on her own. You know, when they were in the hospital after they escaped, Michelle Knight's mom tried to reunite with her, and Michelle refused to see her because they just had such a toxic relationship. She really just didn't have anybody.
No, and I could be remembering this wrong, but in the Lifetime movie, which is from her point of view, like, her mom was kind of victim blaming her and stuff.
Of course she was.
You know, and it's like, are you kidding me? I'm alive. I survived all of this. And it's kind of like, well, why'd you get in the car with him? Or why did you do this? And, you know, all of that. And it's like, are you kidding me?
This fucking bitch. Well.
And then I think when she found out that she was going to have money.
Oh, absolutely.
She was like, oh, yeah, come. I can help. You know what I mean? And it's
absolutely.
Just like, are you?
That's what I was about to say. But then she quickly changed her tone when she realized that she was going to have money.
Opportunistic fucking fuck.
Well, because nobody fucking knew that Michelle Knight was missing, and they all thought that she just flaked out on her son. Her son was adopted by his foster parents, and she was like, I want to see him, but I'm not going to disrupt his life.
And God, she is so strong.
And that, you know, after he becomes an adult, she'll see him.
Yeah. Gosh. Like, that makes me tear up, because y'all need to watch that Lifetime movie.
That is so good. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And, like, I have full body chills right now thinking about just, she is such a survivor, and so, like, how do you... That he was the only thing that kept her going that whole time, was to see her son again. To get out and be like, I won't see him because I won't disrupt his life. You know what I mean? For 11 years, she thought about his birthday. She thought about everything. And then to get out and to be so happy. And then I could not make that. I would be like, no, get him here now, you know, because I am so selfish. But, like, this lady, we are not worthy of fucking Michelle. Right?
I know.
Like, God bless her.
So, because he had to surrender his house and everything, basically, because he had the $100,000 fine and he had no fucking money.
Right.
Because he was about to be foreclosed on because he had all this unpaid property taxes and all this. Anyway, the government was like, what the fuck do we do with this house? Because it's become like a tourist destination.
Mm-hmm.
And these poor people who live in this neighborhood, one, they're always going to see this house, look at that house and think about it. Two,
and feel so guilty.
Yes. And two, it's not safe in this neighborhood for all these people to be traipsing in and out to come see this house. You know, what do we do with it? So they decided that they were going to demo it and make like a garden and all that. Well, Michelle, being the fucking amazing and strong person that she is, was there for the demo. Gosh. And she handed out yellow balloons to everybody that was there. And those yellow balloons were to represent children who are missing.
Golly.
And then the balloons were released right before Gina DeJesus' aunt began the demolition, like with the swinging of a crane to hit it.
She came in like a wrecking ball.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of stuff that talks about, because I really do, the book that I listened to never really said that the girls didn't like each other, but the girls didn't like each other. And part of that is, not part of it, it's because of Ariel Castro.
Yes, that fuckwad.
He would intentionally, like, pit them against one another, create this, like, competition. And I can really see Michelle in my mind's eye. Like, you know, picture her as a human being having trouble with Amanda Berry and even Gina DeJesus, in that they got all this attention for out of jealousy, but because not she's a bad person or whatever, but because she's never had that. Nobody looked for her. And again, he made it very clear that nobody was looking for her because he made her watch TV. And, you know, he beat the shit out of her and killed every single one of her babies and let Amanda have a baby and then made her deliver the baby. And then if that baby died, she was going to die. You know, it was just like all these things. She was the punching bag, and she would at times especially when she shared that room with Gina, if he was about to do something to Gina, she would take the brunt of it so Gina wouldn't, because she is so young.
Yes.
I mean, when she was kidnapped, Michelle was 21. So by the time that Gina DeJesus was kidnapped, they were almost 10 years apart.
Yeah. Yes.
And so she did everything she could to protect them. They just didn't have a good relationship, the three of them. Mm-mm. And so, like, at first they all shared an attorney, a PR, whatever, to protect their interests. But then I think that Michelle got her own, and Amanda and Gina stayed together. Mm-hmm. They wrote their book together. Michelle did her own, you know. Mm-hmm. But I can kind of see that, though, because Michelle did have very different experiences. Yes. You know, that house was not the same for her that it was for those two.
She was alone. They
for
were never
over a
alone.
Year.
Yeah.
She was, but I'm saying for over a year, it was just her. Mm-hmm. And then, yes, her first year, she lay there fucking naked on a bed, freezing her ass off without a goddamn shower.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So that's why I say, like, I feel like Amanda gets a lot of praise because she went through a ton and she was very strong, and they got out because she was in that moment so brave that she was like, well, he may be testing me, but I gotta try. Yeah. If it wasn't for her, who knows? Yeah. Because Michelle did have an infection at that point. Yeah. And she did have to stay in the hospital longer for antibiotics and such. So there's no telling what would happen to her. Gosh. But I just, like, it's almost like rooting for the underdog with Michelle, you know? Yes. Well, here's the kicker of all of it, though. Because we cannot do this story without talking about...
I'm sorry. Major drum roll for the major fucking eye roll that's about to happen. Go ahead.
This motherfucker, piece of shit, motherfucker, killed himself in prison.
Because he couldn't take it.
He could not take being a prisoner and being held captive and being locked in a cell all day.
And they treated him
poorly. They treated him poorly. He thought they were poisoning his food. The food wasn't good. He thought that the guards were after him. all the shit, all the fucking shitty excuses from a shitty human being.
Mm-hmm.
He had him, and he killed himself because he could not handle not even a fraction. What's smaller than that?
Right.
Like 1/1,000,000th of the torture that he put those 3 girls through for fucking 11 years. He could not handle it, and he killed himself in jail. Now, I feel like I want to say there's a caveat, and I'm not saying that death by suicide is a cop-out by any means.
No.
It's not what I'm saying. But in this situation, that this motherfucker could put 3 people through torture for
young people,
fucking 11 years. And it was what, like a fucking month after he was convicted?
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
That he committed suicide in prison.
Well, it was ridiculous when you hear him complaining. Mm-hmm. It's like, you're complaining? That's fucking rich coming from you. You know, and 2, this looks better than what you kept your house and all anyway. So let's, come on, major side eye to you, fuckwad. Mm-hmm. But it is just, like you said, are you fucking kidding me? When that came out, I didn't even know how to process that.
I know.
Because it is just like, one, it's just his last fuck you to everyone. Mm-hmm. You know?
But you know what? I don't think it was. I think it was, again, I feel like I need to preface that this is only in his situation, and I'm not saying about suicide as a whole. But I think that it was because he was a coward.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't think that it was, I don't think that in that moment he was able to think on that level. It was pure selfishness and pure, not even self-preservation, because obviously it's not, but it was like, I can't do this, I have to end it. And so he did. I don't think it had anything to do with, I can't take it, but haha, fuck y'all, I'm not even gonna do it. Like, I think it was, he was so fucking scared and so weak.
Yeah.
That he could not pay the piper for what he did. And so he took his life.
Yeah. Ugh. And yes, just to reiterate, we do not think of that in any other circumstance besides this fuckwad.
Because the reasons that he did it.
Yes.
Were like we're not even close to what he inflicted on 3 people for 11 years.
Yes.
And that's my issue.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So that's all I have to say. All of the girls are flourishing and living their best life. Michelle got married. Amanda has her little girl. They're living their best life. Gina DeJesus is doing a lot with Amber Alerts and families of missing children, and they are living their best lives. They've all written books. I highly recommend that you read all the books, support them in all the ways we can, and forget about this fucker and be happy that they have all moved on in their lives.
Yes.
And support them in the transitions and the hardships that you know that they have to go through on a daily basis. I mean, every single thing I'm sure is triggering to them.
Yeah.
With the ultimate cases of PTSD, you know?
Yes. That kind of reminds me of the I Survived that we did for Patreon this month. This girl survived, obviously, but she endured so much after the fact, too, from victim blaming. And so we know that Michelle and all of them were victim blamed because people don't understand. And, you know, of course, whatever. But, like, can you imagine surviving through that and then having to survive the aftermath and to get back to a life? Which,
you know, one thing that we know about people who are survivors of sexual assault or whatever, that the aftermath, the retelling, the examinations, all of that can be just as traumatizing as the event itself.
Yeah.
And so if you think about what they've had to go through with the legal process and their families and the media coverage and I mean, they went home and there's, they leave the hospital and they go to their families' homes and, not only did they have to deal with all that, well, you got to think about Amanda Berry, her mom died while she was in there.
Gosh.
Her mom died while she was being held captive, and she learned because it was on TV.
Gosh.
And so if you think about, so then she had to go home and her mom not be there.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
So it just, this is just one of the saddest cases ever.
Yes.
But these women are fucking survivors, and they were meant to do something else in their lives.
For sure. For sure. Whew, gosh, my blood is boiling. Mm-hmm. I'm about to cry. So many fucking emotions.
Yes. This is a hard story.
It really is. Really is. And like I said, that Lifetime movie.
It was good. I know exactly. I watched it too.
It had the
girl from Orange is the New Black.
Yes. Oh.
Her name is Taryn Manning.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
She played Michelle Knight. She did a good job.
Yes.
Okay. So now that you're officially depressed and all the things.
Yeah, right?
You ready for your story?
Like, I want to punch
something.
I want to punch dough. That's what make me biscuits.
And gravy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, now. You know how you said you had researched something and then was like, meh? Mm-hmm. Well, I got this random idea. I don't even know what it was from. I was like, oh my God, yes. Started to research it and then I was like, oh my God, meh. But it's still interesting. And I mean, 80% done. You said no, and I'm like, well, it's still good.
Well, mine was, I'm still going to do that one. I just wasn't feeling it this week.
You really just wanted to boil my biscuit. Mm-hmm. Apparently, I really want a biscuit.
I mean, the dough, the gravy, the butter, the jelly.
You ain't ready for this jelly. Picture it. November 26, 1922. This was the day that the tomb of King Tutankhamun.
Oh.
Which might not have been.
Tut? King Tut?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're going to call him. Little Tut Tut. It was opened and a curse was released.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. There was a British archaeologist named Howard Carter who discovered the tomb of the little boy, but the boy king. That's what they called him because he was so fucking young. Well, they discovered it in the Valley of the Kings, which is across the Nile from Luxor in Egypt. But when I was reading about this, I was like, this is so fucking cool though. Just saying Egypt and the Nile, all of this stuff that I've learned in history and all of that, it's just I don't know.
Whenever I lived in Houston, my parents and Casey came to visit, and that was when the Museum of Fine Arts had their King Tut exhibit, and we totally thought it was gonna King Tut was coming. It wasn't.
No,
wasn't.
Oh, that's funny.
It wasn't.
You went for a little tut tut and had a what?
Mm-hmm.
Well, pharaohs had been buried in the Valley of the Kings from the 16th century to the 11th century BC. Most of them had been plundered and ransacked, but King Tut's was the first to be found almost entirely undisturbed. So, back up a few days, November 4th, 1922, Carter's crew discovered a little step carved into a rock. And he was about to be, ixnayed off of this whole thing because it had been 11 years.
Oh, shit.
And they just really didn't find anything. Mm-hmm. This was a Hail Mary, went back to the Valley of the Kings and was like, let's do this. Found a little inkling and was like, let's keep going. And by the end of the next day, the whole staircase was uncovered. Carter wired George Herbert, I want to say, but he is known as Lord Carnarvon because he was like the 5th Earl of Carnarvon.
Makes sense.
And he was the one who was paying for all of this. So he was like, beep, boop, 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 boop. Yo, homeboy, I got the good. Come on.
I'm sure that's exactly how that went down.
Yes. So November 26th, Lord Carney, he was like, all right, Carter, let's do this. So Carter chipped open, and it was just like a small little break in a corner of a doorway at the end of the stairs. He's holding a candle, and he peers inside. And Lord Carney, he's like, can you see anything? Like, what up? And Carter famously replied, yes, wonderful things. He later told a reporter, quote, at first I could see nothing. The hot air escaping from the chamber caused the candle flame to flicker. But presently, as my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room within emerged slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold. Everywhere the glint of gold. Can you imagine?
No.
Oh my gosh. There was evidence that the tomb had been raided twice before, but like early on by like ancient grave robbers. But it was intact, the tomb. They only got to like the little waiting room. You know, they built it all different ways to make it hard to break in. So they got, in Disney World, they got like the little waiting line, but they never even got to the ride.
Yeah. And didn't they do something like different rooms with like mazes leading to nowhere to confuse the spirits or something? Or robbers or something?
It was to do robbers, I know. And then it was a certain way they had to have stuff set up for the afterlife too. Well, the tomb was crammed with thousands of priceless artifacts, religious objects, wall paintings, and most importantly, the sarcophagus containing the king's mummified remains. Who is King Tut? This is like elevator pitch, only things that I think are interesting.
Okay.
I really think I'm saying his name right, but I don't know. King Tutankhamun, again, Tut. He ruled Egypt as pharaoh for 10 years until his death at the age of 19.
Oh, shit.
So at 10, he became ruler. And this was around 1324 BC when he died. His rule was like notable for reversing all the religious reforms of his father, but he was barely known to the modern world until this point in 1922.
Yeah.
Because his father's antics and shit, like they kind of hated him because it was just like, your father did all of this bad shit and now you have to try to erase what he did.
Yeah.
But then he didn't even have time. And then when he died, his successor was like, boop, boop, out with you. Newsflash, I'm the ruler.
Right.
His tomb had remained sealed for more than 3,200 years.
Shit.
And with all the shit inside of it, it gave us such an incredible insight into ancient Egypt. And it quickly made him the world's most famous pharaoh. There was a documentary called Tutankhamun, The Truth Uncovered. And in it, we learned that he had a club left foot, feminine hips, and a pronounced overbite. And further testing shows that he had Kohler's disease, which is a rare genetic disorder that caused him to lose bones in his foot.
Oh, God.
And that condition was like excruciatingly painful, they say. This would explain why when they spoke of him using a walking stick, even though he was so young. And he was the only pharaoh known to be depicted like doing archery while sitting. But now we can kind of see why.
Yeah. Also, he had feminine hips. Give me a break.
Well, they say his long list of ailments wasn't of a curse or anything. It was because of incest.
I was just about to say, meanwhile, that rare genetic condition is because there were like 12 people on the planet.
This guy, Albert Zink, who is the scientific director of the Institute for Mummies and the Iceman in Italy.
Oh, damn.
I mean, put that on your LinkedIn. But he used genetic fingerprinting and tests on the mitochondrial DNA to determine that King Tut's parents were, without a shadow of a doubt, brother and sister.
Oh,
and
no.
Then the whole lineage, it's not just because his parents were ancestral. It's, years and years and years.
Because you had to keep royal blood royal.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Earlier theories suggested that he died from a chariot crash or had been murdered by a rival. But now that we know what we know about him, it was all due to, their family tree being straight up. And CT scans in 1995 showed that he had an infected, broken left leg. So gangrene really killed him.
Shit.
And he had evidence of multiple malaria infections. So all of that, it was just, bad genes. Well, after he died, he was mummified according to the Egyptian religious tradition, which held that royal bodies would be preserved and provisioned for the afterlife. Embalmers removed his organs, wrapped him in resin-soaked bandages. A 24-pound solid gold portrait mask was placed over his head and shoulders, and he was laid in a series of nested containers. 3 golden coffins, 1 granite sarcophagus, and 4 gilded wooden shrines, and the largest which could hardly fit into his burial chamber. One, I know this is not right, but all I can think about is like the Russian doll.
Yeah, that's
stuff.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, and it's like, well, not the same, but...
Right, yeah. But that's totally what I was picturing too.
And because his tomb is so small, they say that his death was unexpected and it was rushed because his successor was like, pew pew, go go. And so, because usually they would be building and all of this for this grand tomb.
Yeah.
And he's young. And even though a lot of people died like when they were 30 at that time, but still 19 is still young.
Way young.
But so they didn't have it ready. And so to get everything done, they just were like, oh, here's a tomb that I think they say it was for Nefertiti, a female. And it's like because the entryway was to the right and not to the left, and left was for like dominance and just all kinds of crazy stuff. But that's not why we're here. I will say that his antechambers, which, again, like before, they were packed to the ceiling with more than 5,000 artifacts, including furniture, chariots, clothes, weapons, and 130 of his walking sticks.
Okay, that's excessive.
One for every fucking day.
I was going to say.
He just whittles in his spare time, apparently. Whew. And like I mentioned before, the entrance corridor was looted soon after the burial, but the inner rooms remained sealed. And within a few generations, the tomb's entrance was kind of covered over by stone debris and built over by workmen's huts and just forgotten until this discovery. So
Damn.
Let's continue on with that. The curse. Most versions have that Howard Carter, he found a clay tablet in the antechamber of the tomb. And a few days after cataloging it, the tale goes that Alan Gardner, he deciphered something that I can't fucking decipher his name, but he deciphered the hieroglyphics, and the tablet read, "Death will slay with his wings whoever disturbs the peace of the Pharaoh." So both of them were like, whatever, they just,
Yeah.
Sure. they catfishing us. But they were scared that the local workers would be scared away.
Yeah.
And, they don't want to do all the hard stuff. So they're like, we're just not going to mention this.
Right.
Don't photograph it. Don't do anything. Let's just keep this under wraps.
Exactly.
One of the famous Egyptologists, James Henry Breasted, he worked for Carter. Soon after opening the tomb, he said that Carter sent a messenger to his house, to Carter's house. On approaching his home, the messenger thought he heard a faint, almost human cry. When he reached the entrance of the house, he saw the bird cage had a cobra in it.
Oh, God.
And that's the symbol of the Egyptian monarchy. And his canary died in the mouth of the cobra. And so people were like, this is a curse. You opened it. Like, this is,
Yeah.
Now in all fairness, snakes do like birds and
Yeah.
all that. But it's just kind of fucking weird.
I agree.
Well, one of the inspector generals of antiquities to the Egyptian government, again, LinkedIn status, he reported this and was like, his house is broken into by the royal cobra, i.e. almost as cool as Cobra Kai.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. I love Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is on the very day that they opened the tomb. So it's just kind of like, what a coinky dink. Well, with all of that, this account was reported by the New York Times on December 22nd, 1922. So everything started to get a little like spooky, because anything kind of weird, you run with it.
Mm-hmm.
The first mysterious death was that of Lord Carnarvon. Aardvark. I don't know why I said that. But Lord Carney, he had been bitten by a mosquito. And later he slashed the bite accidentally while shaving. Because, he didn't have like Gillette for men. He had like
a straight razor.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And it became infected and blood poisoning resulted from it. Right after this, he passed. And on the same day, at the exact same time as Lord Carney dying, he's like, and I shall die. Like that. Mm-hmm. His dog howled and dropped dead in England. And he was over in Cairo. And at the same moment, all the lights in Cairo went out. New York World Magazine, they started to assert that it was dire punishment because they opened the tomb, and people just took that curse and ran with it. Kind of funny, Mussolini, who we talked about all back in the Solder Children days, like just randomly.
Yeah.
But he was very superstitious, and he had once received an Egyptian mummy as a gift, and he was like, no, get this the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Because homie don't play that. Also to note, the guy who created Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle,
The Doyle rules.
He said that it was called by elementals created by Tut Tut's priests to guard the royal tomb. And so with that, it's just like, oh my God, like he thinks it too. And of course, everyone's like, it's a fucking curse, because what are the fucking odds? All of this is happening.
Yeah.
Arthur Weigel, I think is, I'm so sorry. Sorry to Arthur, but he reported that 6 weeks before Carney's death, he had watched him like laughing and joking as he entered the tomb, and said to a nearby reporter, H.V. Morton, I give him 6 weeks to live. And he died 6 weeks later.
Damn. Are they Tiffany?
Right? And the first autopsy was carried out on the body of Tut Tut by Dr. Derry, and it found a healed lesion on the left cheek, but as Carnarvon, Carney. So Lord Carney had been buried for 6 months while they autopsied Tut Tut, and so they couldn't see if that lesion was in the same place or anything to say, was this like kind of Tut's revenge?
Yeah.
You know, whatever. So we don't know, but again, they're going to make that leap. And I say, let them.
Mm-hmm. Leapfrog on.
Not sponsored. In 1925, anthropologist Henry Field was accompanied by Breasted, and they visited the tomb and recalled how a paperweight was given to Carter's friend Sir Bruce Ingram. And it was composed of a mummified hand with its wrist adorned with a scarab bracelet marked, "Cursed be he who moves my body. To him shall come fire, water, and pestilence."
Damn.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let me just say, I love the gifts y'all send us and everything, but I do not need this kind of gift. I do not need a paperweight, be it a human foot or anything like that. If you want to be Jerry Brutos, don't need that. Anything that has death is going to come, don't need it. Well, soon after receiving this gift, Ingram's house burned down.
Oh, shit.
Then when he was going to rebuild, a flood took out the part that he was going to rebuild. Well, Howard Carter was pretty skeptical of the curse because, like I said, he was like, shh, about the tablet.
Yeah.
Well, he did report one thing in his diary that was strange. In May 1926, when he saw jackals of the same type as Anubis, who was the guardian of the dead, he made this account because he saw them for the first time in over 35 years of working in the desert. And so it's just like, what a coinkydink after all of this time. And like I said, he had 11 years consecutively that he was looking for shit. Never saw any of this shit, any of it. Then finds this random tomb, and now shit's like, hello.
Right before he is supposed to leave. Yeah.
And all this shit. The next is George J. Gould. And he was a wealthy American financier. Financier. I thought I put fancier, but I spelled it right. I just can't read it right.
I can't do any of them.
But he was a railroad executive, and he visited the tomb of Tut Tut in 1923 and fell sick almost immediately afterwards. And he never really recovered and died of pneumonia a few months later. Then, number 4, it said that Lord Carney's half-brother suffered from the curse merely by being related to him. Aubrey Herbert was born with a degenerative eye condition and became totally blind later in life. A doctor suggested that his rotten, infected teeth were somehow interfering with his vision.
Ugh.
And so Herbert was like, pull every fucking tooth from my head. I want to see.
Damn.
Well, it didn't work. He did, however, die of sepsis as a result of the surgery.
Oh, God.
Just 5 months after the death of his supposedly cursed brother. Number 5 would be Hugh Evelyn White, and he was a British archaeologist, and he visited Tut Tut's tomb. Hut, hut. That's what it sounds like.
Yes, it does.
But he visited the tomb, and he may have helped excavate the site. God, that's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
I mean, it's hard to do, too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, after he saw all this death, and he said it was like 24 of his fellow excavators, he hung himself, but not before writing, and allegedly in his own blood, "I have succumbed to a curse which forces me to disappear."
Oh my God.
Yeah. Number 6 is American Egyptologist Aaron Ember, and he was friends with many of the people who were present when the tomb was open, including Lord Carney. Well, Ember died in 1926 when his house in Baltimore burned down less than an hour after he and his wife hosted a dinner party.
Damn.
He could have exited safely, Kerri, but his wife encouraged him to save a manuscript that he had been working on while she fetched their son. Sadly, they and the family's maid died in the catastrophe.
Oh, shit.
And what was the name of his manuscript? The Egyptian Book of the Dead.
Is that kind of like the book from Beetlejuice?
Of course, definitely.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Number 7 is Richard Bethel. He was Lord Carney's secretary and the first person behind Carter to enter the tomb. He died in 1929 under suspicious circumstances because he was found smothercated.
Oh my God.
But smothered in his room at an elite London gentleman's club, which could have been that he didn't have, a code word, a safe word. Pineapple pen.
Mm-hmm.
Hit us one time with it, Kerri.
Pineapple pen.
Awesome. So, safe word was not used. But I think they just kind of linked him to it, though, because he was there.
Yeah.
And he was like the first person behind him to enter. And it was kind of odd that he'd be smothered in this place. But they did say that the reason why they said anything about the curse was because the year before that, there were a series of mysterious fires at his house, and where some of the priceless little artifacts from Tut Tut was stored at his house, and that's where the fires started. But no, clear established correlation, but kind of suspect. Again, side-eye that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 8th, and basically the final one that there's some, but I mean, those were far-reaching.
Yeah.
Go-Go Gadget couldn't even touch how far they got,
Yeah.
But Sir Archibald Douglas Reed, he was not up in Egypt doing all the excavating or any of that. He was a radiologist who x-rayed Tut Tut before he was given to the museum authorities, but he got sick the next day and was dead 3 days later.
Damn.
Yeah. So, there's some skepticism, unlike my own that I've already voiced, but where did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
Well, a lot of it says that since this was a major archaeological moment and they needed to keep the press kind of at bay and not trampling all over their shit, they started to be like, hey, it's fucking cursed, y'all. You don't want to come in here. We know how to deal with this. And I mean, if someone said it's cursed, I'd be like, oh, you do you. I'll get you when you on your lunch break over here. I'm at the tent. You be at the Tut. We good. So they're saying they sensationalized it to keep the press at bay, but also that the press kept doing it because they got more sales of the paper.
Yeah. Sound familiar? As in my story?
Mm-hmm. Then there was this person named Dr. Caroline Stinger Phillip, and she proposed in 1986 that ancient mold in the tomb could have potentially caused allergic reactions that were fatal because fruits and vegetables and other organic items were buried in the tomb, and since they were completely sealed, it's plausible that mold spores existed and remained through all of the fucking years because it's basically airtight, stuck up in there,
Yeah.
And then when they tap it in and broke it open, and then it's moldy air, So she kind of coined this term tomb toxins. And then it kind of went on to say, like, this shit that the mummy was wrapped in could have been, I mean, it's an old fucking thing. Like, shit's going to happen. And they said that Carter, when he died from the mosquito bite and everything, he had a weakened immune system, and it could have been with, like, all the bacteria and, like, can you imagine what they fucking embalmed these mummies with? So, well, you know, I mean.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Oh, my gosh. Because let's just be honest, what they embalm people with now and then back in the day, who knows? So you're like, okay, yeah. That explains everything. Because that sounds right to me.
Logical.
You say toxic, I say yes.
Toxic.
Yes.
Toxic.
No.
Toxic.
Maybe. But they don't really explain the death of the group very well because they all died, like, a little bit after the fact. Some were years, some were months, and they're saying if the tomb toxins, it would have been like bam, bam, wham, wham, lamb.
Yeah. So,
probably not fatal. And they even said it's armchair science, which I'm like, we armchair detectives and we good.
Right.
Did you not just hear what we did on Kerri's story? Hello?
I mean, we figured all the things out.
I mean, hit us up, HLN. Dude, if we could be on Robin and Company, Robin Mead, in the morning, like, I think I would have to wear Depends and also have to take some happy pills because I'd be like, my mama.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like 15 minutes later, my mama.
Oh,
you know, because
it's
it's every 15 minutes. I did not know that at first. And I was like, damn, I feel like I just heard this.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good after the fact that you know it because I'm like, oh, I missed it. But it'll come back on.
Exactly.
All right. Tangent time over. Again, there's other things where it's like, no one believes in a curse, but it's like, everyone's a little superstitious on something.
Yeah.
We all have something. I don't say certain words. If my team's not winning, you know, you have to sit in the same spot. Like, can't use bathroom. Have to be here till blah, 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 blah.
Exactly.
Whatever. I mean, some people don't change their underwear for, you know, a whole season. Who knows? You do you.
That's gross.
But a lot of people say, all right, look, Carter did not even die from the curse because he lived until March 2nd, 1939. However, some say that his punishment was that he had to suffer the fate of watching all his friends and associates die. And that sounds like the Green Mile.
Yeah.
So, maybe he was a victim of the curse after all. And it was one that suffered long term because he was the person that tapped it into the Tut tomb.
Shit.
So, do you believe in the curse?
Yes.
I will tell you one thing. That shit, I am not going to mess with. That shit, when the, like, just, I don't know, a year ago, when the other mummy was found, and they're like, ooh, we want to drink the juice from the mummy. Like, one, my mama raised me better than that. Two,
I'm not trying to get his gangrene.
For reals. But, like, I'm not about that life. Like, you do you. Even if it's not cursed, like, you cursed with stupid ideas. I mean, no shade, but shade.
I was going to say, no shade, but here's a big old oak tree for you to sit under.
But seriously, so it's one of those things. You can say it's a curse. You can say it's not a curse. Because it's not like every year on this day, blah, 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 blah. But some of these were kind of fucked up.
Kind of like freaky.
Yeah, freaky deaky.
Like something's not right, yeah.
Yeah. But that's really all I could find. And people threw shade at old King Tut. And, I mean, not his fault that...
He had feminine hips and a wide set vagina.
and a heavy flow.
Oh, God.
But anyway, so I just thought it was interesting. Going back, way back to something I like.
No, I liked it.
Yay. I thought it was going to be more like, more of the on this day, at this hour. But again, that's in the movies. And the movies have to sensationalize shit, but they get it from real life.
Yeah.
That's not so neat and packaged. So I say, unconcluded, I'm not going in no mummy tomb. And not drinking the juice.
Well, they say, too, that some of the tombs were, like, booby-trapped and stuff, too.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, my allergy. The longer we've talked this episode, my voice is going, so.
You know what?
Thank you, allergies.
I've just solved fucking Cinderella's problem. It was not midnight that she was going to turn into a pumpkin. It was midnight that she was going to get her little morning voice going on, her deep voice, and the prince could not have that, because you went from being like, hey, what up, girl, to hello.
Anyway.
Kerri has went on a whole a whole ride of, I mean, she hit puberty. And I had fucking dessert, so I might have sped talk.
It's kind of like a TED Talk.
Oh, God. The only TED Talk I will ever give. Which probably isn't that fast, but I feel like I went through that really fast.
No. I liked it.
Well, good.
Good job.
Alrighty.
What do we learn?
Well, one, I want to know if they believe in this curse.
Oh, okay.
And two, here's two questions for y'all.
Okay.
Do you believe in the curse?
Yes.
And do you believe that Ariel Castro should have been castrated?
Damn.
I mean, those are the two questions.
He wasn't alive long enough to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what did we learn?
We learned
Ariel Castro is a piece of shit.
Garbage. Scum. He is the fucking mold spores in the sarcophagus.
Fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Ew.
Two,
always be suspect of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Especially your best friend that you host a podcast with.
I mean, if it's their dad and they're not with them, and you don't, like, know him, that's weird.
Yeah, I feel like now, not that this was that long ago, honestly, but now younger kids have cell phones and stuff like that, so if they get off work late or something, they could call their friend or their parent or an Uber, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think Gina DeJesus used a payphone.
Yeah.
For them to call and see if she could stay over with his daughter.
Yeah. So I feel like it's easier to say no now. Mm-hmm. But still, there's always that one time, you know, be like, oh, yeah, that's so-and-so's brother, whatever. And I feel like we should just know that you never know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yes, and just because it's so-and-so something doesn't just automatically make him a good guy.
Yeah,
or a good
like,
girl.
Ted Bundy was someone's...
So-and-so.
Yeah. I mean, and I guess we didn't really even talk about it, but, like, Ariel's neighbors were like, what the fuck? Like, he went to, like, barbecues. They would have all this stuff, you know, and... they had no idea because he was kind of not a hermit because he did shit, but like he's kind of kept to himself until he was ready, probably because he's beat them all so bad and was like, you fucking move. And so then he, you know, goes out, does his little thing, and they had no idea. You won't always suspect the wrong people. Like, no,
right.
You won't always know people are doing wrong, you know, because there was nothing out of the ordinary with him. He was a hoarder, but that's really not out of the ordinary, you know.
Well, I mean, he was a bus driver. He was, you know.
Yeah, there was no way. Like, I hope those neighbors know. There was no way to know.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's what's scary. As saw a meme or something where it was like, if you're in traffic, probably someone like in a close proximity to you has murdered someone or like is going to commit a crime or whatever. And it's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. You know? And oh my gosh. Anyway, I can go down a paranoid rabbit hole.
I could have spent this, like, that story to me is like,
it's so many levels.
Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I left out so much shit because there's just no way.
Yeah. I mean, him and all of his victims, and that's including the 3 girls that he held captive and tortured, his ex-wife, his girlfriend, like all of that.
His mom.
All of that could be a huge podcast in itself.
Yeah. Okay, 3.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Look, 3 is keep your Andy Dufresne knock rock hammer out of people's tombs and mind your business, and you wouldn't get fucking cursed.
Right? I mean, look, history comes at a price. I get it. But I would be the same person if I knew that King Tut had a wide butt and he used 130 walking sticks. Mm-hmm. If I never knew that, I'd be the same. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't have to get cursed. It's okay. Like...
And certainly don't drink the fucking mummy juice.
Don't drink the mummy juice. That's the nastiest shit I've ever heard of. I don't know what... when I even saw that, I was like, oh, God, I can't. Mm-hmm. My mouth was watering in the worst way. Like, I'm about to throw up.
Who was the genius that was like, wait a tick?
You know, someone really was a genius because they said, ooh, we're going to have to, like, scoop this out and throw it away. And then someone who probably worked at fucking McDonald's before said, no. We can. Just like the burnt ends off of, like, the barbecue and stuff like that, how people would be like, you gotta use those burnt ends. And so someone said, we can charge 50 cents for it. Yeah. You know, and hell, now like, it's on the menu. But, like, that's like McDonald's kind of thing. Like, okay, we can make this a whole feature and people will pay for this fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's disgusting.
And then, I mean, you can be like, we don't know what's going to happen because it's been 3,200 years. You know, and it's like, oh, I don't want to be part of history that way.
No.
I want a future.
But you know what I do want y'all to do? To remember.
Keep it real
and don't get scared.
Don't drink the mummy juice.